Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis Legacy. The sorority secrets of the goddess next door are revealed in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis Legacy in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. One of my longtime viewers wanted to know the reasons why some fathers are abusive to their daughters and their mothers do nothing about the situation. Now, when it comes to these fathers who are abusive to their daughters, you have to understand that these are beta males, like I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And when it comes to beta males, a lot of beta males are extremely frustrated, and they're frustrated because life isn't going the way that they wanted. And as life doesn't go the way that they want, what these men do is that they seethe with anger, and as they seethe with anger because they're frustrated about their life not going the way that they want, what they do is take out their anger at others who they believe they can have more power over. Now, in the beta males' rose-colored reality, oftentimes they don't see their family as people they can love. No, they see people as objects. And as they see people as objects, they see people as objects that they can do and do whatever they please to without ever having any regard for them as people and ever having any respect for them or their lives. That's the way many of these beta male fathers feel about their families, because these men oftentimes feel about their families and act on their emotions. And as they act on their emotions in that rose-colored reality, they don't see people as people who have their own thoughts and feelings. No, they see them as objects in their world. And once these people wind up disrupting their smooth world, they look to go out and do harm to them. Now, they look to do harm to them because they want to get power in their lives, power they can't have in the real world, because for a lot of these beta males, they want to have power in the real world, but they often are denied that power. And a lot of times, the person denying them the ability to have that power is the beta male himself, because he's afraid of taking his own power and agency over his own life. And because he fears taking power and agency over his own life, he looks for individuals who are weaker than he is in order to get power. And that's basically how he has his relationships, and that's how he becomes a very abusive man. Now, when it comes to the mother who does nothing, a lot of times when it comes to these mothers are broken down by that man even before the children are born. Because when it comes to the beta male wants to have power, and the way he gets power is not by looking to lead a family, by showing love to his family. No, he looks to get power by breaking down people, and he breaks down people with physical violence to make them submit to him, and uses fear to control that person. Because the beta male doesn't know how to express love to people because he's insecure. The beta male is extremely insecure, and he doesn't feel safe as related to relationships. So the only way he can feel safe and have a smooth world is by destabilizing the lives of people, by making them afraid of him. So what he does is abuse women, and again, breaking them down and physically breaking those women down in hopes of maintaining his power base. And that's the way the beta male goes out here and has his relationship with a woman before he has children. And that basically makes it where the woman, over time, as she's in this codependent relationship with this man, winds up becoming so broken down that as a coping mechanism, what she does is what I talk about in The Man Crisis, is what many single mothers do when they get overwhelmed by their sons, is they will just go out and start letting information go in one ear and out the other as related to verbal abuse. and she'll just deny problems as related to this man abusing her, and then she will just shut completely down. And this is her way of coping with a toxic situation with a man who has created a codependent relationship based on him being extremely insecure about maintaining this relationship and needing this power of abuse to make him feel secure about his position as a leader and an authority figure. Again, all based on his insecurities and fears. And as this relationship is based on his fears, the woman shuts completely down. And as she shuts down, it basically makes that woman feel powerless. And that basically makes the man feel like he's some sort of man. And after he winds up breaking the woman down, what he does is go and start looking to break down other people to maintain the smoothness of his world so he can ensure that he has no problems, he has no conflicts, he has no obstacles, and has no issues to deal with, because as he wants to have his smooth world, what he does is after he breaks down the woman, he then turns to the children. And as he turns to the children, he then starts participating in his abuse of those children. And as he goes and breaks those children down, again, it's all about him looking to go out and break these children's spirits the same way he broke the woman's spirits. And as he goes to break the woman's spirit, again, she feels powerless about her situation. This is why she does nothing to protect her children. And he continues to go on in these rampages, looking to instill fear in his children, not looking to instill love in his children, because he doesn't come from a place of emotional security. So he takes out his insecurities on his children. And as he's taking out his emotional insecurities on his children, he's basically looking to break them down in the same way he basically broke the mother. He wants to break people's spirits because he doesn't really have a spirit of love inside of him. No, he's filled with a lot of anger and a lot of rage. And this toxic man basically creates a toxic environment because he is afraid to lead and trust people. He has no faith as a man in trusting the people around him. So what he does is create an environment of fear, and he creates this environment of fear which he uses to control people. And that's basically what's happening here, sadly, with this viewer. And I'm sorry that this viewer is going through all of this abuse as related to this toxic man. I'm really sorry that the viewer is dealing with all of this all through her life. But the only solution you can have for dealing with this type of toxic man is by taking your power. And the only way to take your power is to take yourself out of this toxic situation. I mean, the first part is acknowledging, yes, this is a toxic situation, but now you have to take your power. And the world may be rough for a while, but it's better to be in a rough world where you can grow and change, rather than stay in a toxic and abusive environment with a toxic and abusive man who is basically looking to get power and control by breaking people down emotionally, physically, psychologically, and spiritually. And the viewer says that this guy has a violent temper, but that violent temper comes from this man not being able to cope with the real world, and not being able to cope with the real world of black men as related to white supremacy and racism, not understanding that in the world a black man deals with white supremacy and racism, but you do not have a right to take out your anger on your family. No, you don't have a right to take out your anger on your family, because you have to deal with a racist and white supremacist world. If anything, this should make you want to show more love to your family, because a father's relationship with a daughter is a special one. A father's relationship with a daughter should be a space where that girl can feel a sense of emotional security, a place where that girl can feel a sense of she is loved and accepted for who she is. I mean, that's the healthy relationship that a father has with a daughter, making her feel like she's beautiful, making her feel like she's special, making her feel like she's someone, because you know that coming from a world of white supremacy and racism, that world beats up people, and you want your daughter to feel safe and secure. But when it comes to beta males, they don't want to go and look out for the needs of others by following the Bible, by doing unto others as they want done unto them. No, they want to be able to have the power, and they want to do things to other people because things were done to them. And that's what makes it really twisted with the beta male. They want to be able to do things to people that were done to them, and they want to be able to hurt people the way that they were hurt. But that's not the way a man of God operates. No, a man of God operates understanding he wants to do better than what was done to him. No, a man of God wants to go and do what is right by God, and wants to be a man who will say, no, I'm not going to continue this cycle of violence by taking out my anger on my wife that I love. No, I'm not going to attack my children that I love. No, I'm going to treat them the way Christ treated the church and the way Christ treated us all, by making a sacrifice. And I'm going to sacrifice all of these feelings of anger and frustration about the way the world treats me. I'm going to sacrifice those feelings and show love to my wife and children, and let them know that they are loved, because that's what Jesus did when he sacrificed himself on the cross. I mean, he already knew that man had sinned, but still, even though man had sinned, he loved men and women enough to make that sacrifice. And again, that's what a man of character will do, because he understands he loves his family, and he's not going to give the hatred that he receives in the world to his family. That's what a healthy man will do. He will go out here and put all of those feelings aside and think about how much he loves his family. That's what a man will do. But the whole thing is that you have to understand that what you're dealing with is a male, a very toxic male. And again, the only way to get out of that situation is to leave. And then after you leave, go into counseling, because right now you're not ready for a relationship with anyone. Because if you get in a relationship with someone right now, what's going to happen is you're going to get involved with the same type of toxic male, because this was your model. And you don't want to do that. You want to go into counseling, work on these issues, work these issues out, break out of this cycle of abuse. You want to break out of this cycle of abuse so that when you move forward with someone, you can have a healthy relationship with them and be able to know how to cope in situations where things don't become in a codependent situation, where you become in a super violent situation. You don't want to be in a very violent situation like this, because the whole thing is you have to change your spiritual energy so that you don't wind up attracting this kind of person to you like your father. That's what you have to do. And again, this is a process that you have to go through with a professional licensed counselor or licensed psychotherapist that they can help you break out of this paradigm. This is something you have to learn how to do, and learn and dedicate yourself to doing this, because these patterns can repeat themselves if we don't watch ourselves. These patterns can repeat themselves and wind up putting us in a vicious cycle. This is something that I learned growing up after being bullied in junior high school and high school, and learning that, if I want to stop this cycle, I have to focus on myself. And the way I focus on myself is understanding that this is my life and I can live it the way that I want. And the way I want to live is to live and be a servant of God and follow the principles of the Bible, which are to, again, love the Lord with all your heart, soul, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And part of loving your neighbor as yourself is treating people the way you want to be treated, treating people and showing them love, not giving back the hate and the anger, because giving back that hate and that anger only allows that cycle to continue. And you want to break that cycle. You want to break that cycle so you can move forward. That's what you want to do in this situation. You want to break this cycle so you can move forward. And that's what I would want this viewer to do. I want this viewer to be able to break this cycle so that they can move on. And I want them to be able to move out of the cycle of abuse, because the cycle of abuse basically can be the thing that can destroy your life. And the whole thing is you have to work through this pain, you have to work through all of this pain and understand that sometimes you have to cut off toxic family members. I mean, if they don't want to take agency and power over themselves, you have to take power over yourself and this situation, because I guarantee you in this whole situation, folks aren't dealing with this dude because he doesn't know how to control his emotions. And I guarantee you that this guy doesn't step to other people like this. No, he only does this to his family because he understands that in that world, he's going to have to, when he deals with other people are going to have him deal with consequences. Now, the viewer says that she doesn't know if he acted like this with his younger sister, but I guarantee you he possibly didn't, because he would have to deal with the mother in that situation, or even the father. And if he took this out into the street and got in the face of another dude with that so-called violent temper, you would see this guy turn into a shrinking violet, because when he gets in the face with other dudes who are bigger and stronger than he is, they're basically going to knock his block off, and he doesn't pull this crap with those guys because he understands that there's consequences for his actions. If anything, you're going to see him acquiescing and being a complete wimp in front of those guys, but he's a roaring lion with his family. That's the whole pattern of beta male fathers. They're big and bad with their wives or their girlfriends or their children, but they're complete bitches when they come to other men and even other women, because they know that if they get in the face of other folks, they may be catching a beat down, or in some cases they may wind up with a gun in their face. So they don't pull that stuff with other people. No, they just pull it on their children. And in an effort to scare them into believing that they have all power, they scare their wives into believing that they have all power. It's all a power trip for him. But the whole thing is, you can pull the plug on the power trip by simply walking away from this toxic man and leaving him to deal with his emotional baggage and leaving him to stew in his own toxic stew. Because usually what happens with these kind of guys is eventually they wind up taking things too far, and when they take things too far, eventually they wind up getting arrested and having to deal with Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles. And when they hear what he did to his wife, they're going to be giving him a beatdown, and much even worse, as they trade him for the commissary that I talk about in many of my videos, like the Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Crystal Light lemonade and Crystal Light tea, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pies, all that stuff. I mean, that's what's going to happen to this guy if he goes and has to deal with real men. I mean, they may even get him in the precinct. The cops may even get him in the precinct. But this guy, basically, he's out here being a tough guy at home, but he's basically a punk in the streets. And all it takes is one 911 call, and dude would be in jail right now. But the whole thing is, now that you are dealing with this guy, the whole thing is the best way to deal with him is to walk away, and to walk away and leave him to his anger, walk away and leave him to his rage, and walk away and leave him to wind up being the man in crisis that he is, because there's no way for you to solve this crisis. No, you have to focus on you and focus on making you a better woman than he was as a man. Now, this was a video requested by one of my viewers, and if you want to request a video, you can send a donation for a minimum of $15 to the Cash App or the PayPal by clicking the links in the description box. And if I know something about that subject, or I can do some research on that subject, I'll make that video for you. And if you want to learn how to break out of the cycle of being a beta male, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com, and learn all about the paradigm of the beta male and how it leads to men being in crisis, and how these men wind up making their families wind up in crisis, And if you want to learn why women like this wind up shutting completely down, you can pick up my books, The Woman Crisis and Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. Both of those books will show you why guys like this wind up getting involved with toxic women, because toxic women and toxic men attract each other. And if you can change your spiritual energy and break out of these paradigms of failure, you can have a more abundant life that God wants for you to have, and have a healthy relationship with a healthy person. Now, that's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Coming to paperback and e-readers, Isis Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Pre-order your copy of Isis Dark Incubus at Amazon.com and other online booksellers everywhere. Coming to paperback and e-readers, Esteem Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this all-new Esteem series adventure. Pre-order your copy of Esteem Horror in the Hamptons in digital format at Amazon.com, Google Play, Draft2Digital, and other digital booksellers, or pick up your paperback copy on May 24th. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.